Thank you Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Hey everyone, it's Jananie and welcome back to my channel, This Story Ain't Over. So today I'm coming to you with a ginormous book haul. I did not mean to get this many books. Like, I didn't even buy half of these books, but some of them were sent to me. And now here we are with a book haul that's like 20 plus books, because I have a problem and I seriously need help. But regardless, this book haul has a lot of books that I'm super excited about. Some of these I've already read, some of them I've already recommended in a couple videos, and then I have a bunch from some book boxes as well that I only recently unboxed. So let's just jump right into all the books. Alright, so the first book is Hunted by the Sky by Tanez Bethena. This is a book by a Canadian author, and it is a fantasy inspired by ancient India, and it follows our main character Ghoul, who has this star-shaped birthmark on her arm, and because of it she's kind of been put on the radar of the ruthless king, and it's also the thing that has caused her parents' death. But when a rebel group of women called the Sisters of the Golden Lotus see her and kind of take her in, she starts to harbor thoughts of revenge. And I don't know a lot about this. I meant to read this during the readathon, but I didn't get the chance to pick it up, so I'm hoping to pick it up later this month regardless. And there's also a male main character who seems like a soft muffin boy, which I am always here for. So I'm really excited about this, and I just love this cover as well. Like, I love it. Alright, the next book is also one that I bought myself, and that is 10 Things I Hate About Pinky by Sandhya Menon. For those of you who have been following my channel for a while, you know I love a good Sandhya Menon book. It was the first time I saw like brown girls on the covers of YA books, which was just so exciting and so big for me. And I love her books. They're always just really fun, cute rom-coms. This one is no different. It is a companion to the other Dimpleverse books. So there's When Dimple Met Rishi, and then we also have There's Something About Sweetie, and this is the third one. You don't necessarily need to read them in order, but I think it kind of helps because some of the characters do wind up in the other ones. So if you read them out of order, you do get kind of spoiled for the other ones if you plan to pick them up. But regardless, this book features a side character from There's Something About Sweetie, and she's very much like Kat Stratford in 10 Things I Hate About You. She's very political. She is always, you know, protesting something. And she's just an all-around awesome girl. And the main male character, Samir, is a little bit different from 10 Things I Hate About You, but this is kind of also drawing on The Taming of the Shrew, I believe. But Samir has been homeschooled for the past few years, and he's been taking care of his sick mother, so there's that aspect. And their personalities are super clashing. If you have read There's Something About Sweetie, you'll see them kind of show up in that book, and I'm just really excited by that dynamic. So I can't wait for this. I think it's gonna be adorable, and I'm just in the mood for like a really sweet rom-com right now. Alright, the next book that I bought is one that I kind of picked up on a whim, and it's because one of my friends really likes this book, and I've heard it has great bi rep as well, but also mental health rep, and that book is Little and Lion by Brandy Colbert. So this follows our main character Suzette, who comes home to LA after being in boarding school in New England, and she's coming home to her old crush and to her brother, who's recently been diagnosed with bipolar disorder. But as she's kind of settling into her old life, she's starting to realize that a lot of things have changed, including the fact that she might also have a crush on the same girl that her brother has a crush on. And she has to kind of deal with that and the whole situation with her brother, but also, you know, questioning her sexuality. And I'm just so excited for this book. So I think it's just gonna be overall awesome, and like, I'm just here for all the things that were just listed in that description. All right, the next book that just came in the mail the other day is Vicious Spirits by Kat Cho. This is a companion to Wicked Fox. I actually haven't read Wicked Fox yet, but I saw the cover for this and saw a bit of the description, and I was like, this seems exactly like the kind of thing I would love. So I was like, I need to buy it. So being a companion to Wicked Fox, this one also deals with kind of the supernatural and the myth of the Gumiho, the nine-tailed fox. This one is set in Seoul, and it follows a different main character, and there's also a bit of a romance, but there's also a bit of like paranormal, the world's gonna end, that kind of thing. And I just loved the cover concept of this, and it just gives me vibes of some Korean dramas that I really love. So yeah, overall I'm just excited about this, and I think I'm just gonna binge read Wicked Fox and this together all at once. So if you guys would like to see a vlog of that, let me know, and then I will like definitely do a vlog for it. Alright, the next book is Star Daughter by Shweta Thakrar. So I actually hauled the arc of this before, and I just recently got the finished copy in the mail the other day from Epic Reads, so thank you so much to them for sending this. I am so excited for this book because it's inspired by Hindu mythology, but also involves like some sort of celestial star kind of mythology that the author has created. And so our main character is actually a daughter of a star and a human, if that kind of makes any sense. But it seems like from this new description, the main character has never really known shown her connection to the stars that well, and there's a lot of secrets that she is not privy to, but she is chosen as this human champion in this competition to decide who's gonna rule the heavens next. And she's doing this to kind of save her father, who seems like he might be in some trouble. But honestly, like the whole idea of the Hindu mythology and the stars and like the celestial court and like a competition is just wild, and I am here for it. So yeah, I love this cover and I just love the concept of this book, so I cannot wait to dive into it. It did just come out recently, but if any of you have picked it up like prior to that, let me know what you thought of it. All right, the next few books are also all from Epic Reads. So they also sent me Rules for Being a Girl by Candace Bushnell and Katie Cutugno. Candace Bushnell is, I believe, the author of Sex and the City, which I didn't know going into this, but I love this book. I've actually already read it and it was just so good. I kind of ripped through it in I think a day or two, and it follows our main character Marin, who is like this teenager in high school who's never really thought about sexism in a really powerful way or feminism in a really powerful way, and she's just let like, you know, sexist comments from her boyfriend kind of go by, and she's let the situation at her school where her principal is always pointing out the flaws in the girls' uniforms but not pointing them out in the guys, and you know, saying that the girls are dressing to distract the guys and all that. She like kind of ignores this stuff and just lets it pass over her head. But when she ends up in this situation where her English teacher, who she really looked up to, who everyone calls Bex, his name's Mr. Beckett, and who is the typical young, funny, fun teacher at the school, when he kind of comes on to her in an after-school kind of setting, she's kind of shocked, and she's thrown into the situation where she's forced to realize how much is wrong with what's going on around her, and she starts a feminist book club at her school, which is all I really needed to like convince me to read this. And honestly guys, this was just so wonderful. There's also a really sweet romance in this with like another boy at the school, and I just loved it. It's a really short read, really quick, highly recommend.
But let's talk about today's sponsor, Skillshare. So Skillshare is an online learning platform for creative and curious people. It's a place where you can find classes on a myriad of topics, including illustration, graphic design, creative writing, writing essays, like anything you can think of. I learned how to edit videos on Skillshare. Skillshare Premium is less than $10 a month, and you can get access to all of these amazing classes. But if you click the link in my description, the first 1,000 people who click that link will get a free 2-month subscription to Skillshare Premium. Now, the class I want to highlight today is Creative Writing, Crafting Personal Essays with Impact by Roxane Gay. And the reason I'm highlighting this class is because in Rules for Being a Girl, the main character is recommended a book by Roxane Gay as she is discovering her version of feminism. And in this class, Roxane Gay teaches you how to write, amazing, impactful personal essays. But that's about all I have to say, so let's get back to Jananie from the past.
The next book is also one that I've already read, and that is Allegedly by Tiffany D. Jackson. I'm slowly working my way through all of Tiffany D. Jackson's backlist, and I'm loving it. And this is the most recent one that I read. And this follows our main character, Mary B. Addison, who has killed a baby, allegedly. So when she was 7 years old, she and her mother were taking care of this white baby, and the baby ends up dying and is definitely killed by someone. But Mary B. Addison is the one who goes to jail for this crime. She was 7 years old at the time. She goes to baby jail, and now she's in a group home. And so the book starts with her in the group home, and she is finding out that she is pregnant. She has like a boyfriend at the place that she is volunteering at named Ted, and so she's suddenly thrust into a situation where she wants to protect her baby, and so she's trying to find a way to figure out a future for herself, but also find a way to exonerate herself. And this book not only looks at all those issues, but it's also a like super cool mystery thriller, and it has so many amazing twists, and the ending is just absolutely killer. Like, I was just haunted by that ending. I remember like finishing it and closing the book and being like, oh my god, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. So it's definitely a really great one and highly recommend. I like can't decide which of Tiffany D. Jackson's books are my favorite. I have one more to read, but honestly, this is just amazing. And speaking of, the other Tiffany D. Jackson book that I have not read yet is Monday's Not Coming, and this was also sent to me by Epic Reads. And this one I actually don't know a lot about, but I do know it involves a young black girl going missing, basically. Her name's Monday. And so her best friend Claudia is kind of very skeptical of what's happened to her, and so she's determined to find out, but no one else seems to care. And so she ends up on this like mystery of trying to figure out what happened to Monday. This seems super interesting, and especially after reading Allegedly, I think this is going to be incredible. So I cannot wait. liked, and I loved Grown as well recently by Tiffany D. Jackson, so I just have high expectations, and this is the last one of her books that I have left to read, and I'm kind of sad now because I'm like, I just want more of Tiffany D. Jackson. Alright, another book that Evergreen sent me was Felix Ever After by Kaysen Callender. This is a story about a young trans boy, and I have heard non-stop amazing things about this, so I can't wait to read it. I did mention in an Epic Book Recs video that I wanted to pick this up, so I just can't wait, and I feel like it's gonna be just super cute, and I've only heard amazing things, so can't wait. And then the last book that Evergreen sent me was Not So Pure and Simple by Lamar Giles. I'm really excited about this one because I've heard it's super funny, but it follows our main character Dell, who has always had this crush on this girl named Kiera, but she's always been in a relationship. So when she's finally available in their junior year, he is determined to get her to be with her. So when Kiera volunteers at their church for this life-changing opportunity, that's what it says in the description, Dell decides to, you know, sign up along with her. And no one thinks that this is worth the effort, that a girl is ever worth this effort. But Dell also has this reputation for being kind of a playboy, and no one thinks that he can actually keep it in his pants long enough to get Kiera. But then we have another character come in who is a purity pledger to the church, I believe, and his name is Jameer. And Jameer says that he can help Dell get Kiera if Dell will answer all of Jameer's sex ed questions. And so it's the story of these two boys kind of helping each other out and trying to get the girl without ever actually asking the girl. And I think there's a bit of a twist and a bit of a satirical irony going on here, and I think it's going to be really interesting. Very excited, and there's been a lot of blurbs that have called it super funny, so I'm excited about that. And now I'm going to quickly mention a bunch of the books that I got in Owl Crate boxes, and one I think from a Fairy Loot box. So I'm just gonna rip through them right now because I've already talked about them a bit in those Owl Crate unboxing videos, so you can go check them out. But one from the July box is Goddess in the Machine by Laura Beth Johns. This is kind of a sci-fi, but in a future where people think that technology is magic. And so it's this weird situation where the main character, who is from the 22nd century, wakes up from cryogenic sleep and everyone thinks she's a goddess in the machine. All right, the next book is Where Dreams Descend by Janella Angeles, and this is basically, from what I can gather, the Night Circus meets Phantom of the Opera. It has that Phantom of the Opera kind of, you know, stage aspect to it, but it also has the kind of magic competition aspect from the Night Circus. I think it's gonna be great, and I just love this exclusive cover from Owl Crate. It is just gorgeous. Next I have Witchy, which is a graphic novel by Ariel Salmet Riaz, and this actually came as a bonus in one of the Owl Crate boxes. I can't remember which one, but it is a graphic novel set in kind of a fantasy world where the length of your hair determines how much magic you have, and it just seems really interesting, and it's witches, and I just can't wait for it. And the art style is actually really nice. All right, next I have Bone Crier's Moon by Catherine Purdy. This is like the second copy I've gotten in a book box. It came in both the Fairy Loot and Owl Crate, I think, for 1 month. So this is set in a fantasy world, and it involves these things called Bone Criers, who are these people who are tasked with the sacred duty of keeping the dead from kind of encroaching on the living. And so they are able to ferry souls into these two different kind of underworlds. So one's like a heavens and one's like an underworld. But their power to do this comes from sacrifice, and so they must give up their one true love. So our main female character has been like raised to become one of these bone criers, and so she's always known that she's going to kill her destined to be love. But our main male character, his family was killed by bone criers, and so he has always had this like thirst for revenge, but their destinies kind of get intertwined because they are each other's true love, I believe. And things kind of spiral from there. There's like macabre magic and the romance and the betrayal, and I'm just really interested to see how this goes. All right, the next book that I have from my book box is Incendiary by Zoraida Cordova, and I'm really excited about this because I've heard the author has some really great books. I haven't read any of them, but still excited about this. And this follows our main character Renata, who was kidnapped at a very young age to live in the palace and be a memory thief for the king and for this siege called the King's Wrath, where thousands of her own people were killed. But soon after that, she was rescued by this rebel group called the Whisperers, and so she is now one of them, but she's still haunted by this memory of robbing these thousands of people of their lives. But when the commander of her unit at the Whispers, a boy that she has kind of fallen in love with, he gets kidnapped by the king and by the kingdom or whatever, she's forced to return to the capital to kind of save him. But there is a mysterious prince involved, and she is kind of burning for revenge, and so she doesn't know what to do, and she's faced with this really weird situation, and I think it's going to be super interesting. I am very in the mood for fantasy right now, so I think I might pick this up soon. Alright, and then I also got an ARC recently from Incyard Press, and that is for Smash It by Francina Simone. For those of you who don't know, Francina Simone is a booktuber, and I love her videos, and so I'm so excited that her book is finally coming out this September. And this is basically a modern retelling of Othello. The main character goes to this high school where they are throwing this production of Othello on, but the main character Olivia has plans of her own as well going on. She has decided to create a fuck it list, like a kind of bucket list of things that she wants to do, just like fuck it, she's just gonna do it, she doesn't care. And so that is kind of the premise of this book, and there's like multiple love interests going on and this production going on, and I think it's just gonna be a lot of fun, so cannot wait for this. Okay, and then now I just have a few adult books that I picked up recently. The first is Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. For those of you who have been following my channel recently, I love to Take a Hint to Danny Brown by Talia Hibbert. It's just this really fun, kind of smutty adult romance, and I just loved it. It was just so much fun, and it was the perfect thing I needed at the time. So I knew I had to pick up her first book, Get a Life. These books are kind of companions, but they do stand alone, so you can read them separately and out of order, which is what I ended up doing. But I can't wait for this. I've already kind of started it. I'm about 2 chapters in, and I just can't wait for all the romancy goodness. Next, I have A Beautifully Foolish Endeavor by Hank Green. I've already mentioned this in a bunch of videos, but this is the sequel to An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green, which was one of my favorite books of 2018. It deals with like social media and with aliens a little bit. It's a bit of a sci-fi, but more kind of a commentary on humanity and society, and I love it. This book's a little bit different because it follows the perspective of multiple characters who were in the first book, so it's been really interesting in that way. I'm about halfway through, so I just can't wait to finish it. Next book I have is Pleasing Black Lives by Robin Maynard. I talked about this a lot in my Read-A-thon TBR and in my vlog, so you can go check that out, but it's basically a nonfiction history book dealing with state violence in Canada from slavery to the present. Right. And then the second last book that I picked up is one that I picked up by recommendation from a bunch of you when I asked for Indigenous book recs, and that is There by Tommy Orange. I honestly know nothing about this. I am just trusting your recommendations, and I decided to buy it and pick it up, so hopefully I can read this soon. And then the last book that I picked up is The Hana Artist by Alka Joshi. I bought this myself because I was just really interested by it, and also I think Chanel from Chanel Time read this recently and loved it, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna go for it. But basically this book follows a 17-year-old woman escaping a arranged and abusive marriage in the 1950s, and she basically becomes a henna artist for these upper class women, and she's kind of learning more about them, and I'm just really interested by this concept, so I think it's gonna be really cool. But I would love to hear from you guys. If any of you have picked this up or read it, I would love to hear your thoughts. But those were all of the books that I wanted to haul today. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. There's so many books on this list, and I'm so tired from talking so much about all these amazing books. There's a lot on here that I want to pick up soon, and a lot that I've already picked up, so I would love for you guys to pick up those books and check them out because they were honestly just so amazing. But I would love to hear from you guys which of these books you have read or which you are planning to read, and if you have read any of these books, I would love to hear your thoughts about them. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video, and please remember that this story ain't over. Bye!